Hey there, I'm Brandon, and is it just me or does it feel a little different here? That was a genuine question. Apparently I am indeed losing my mind according to this diagnosis. And what's worse is that now I'm starting to hallucinate, talk shit about beloved video games, and discuss things that aren't even relatable anymore. On the bright side though, they said whatever it is that I have is something completely new to them, which means I get to start thinking of names for it. I already have a few contenders here. But I guess now I should probably start saying some relevant stuff if I want to have any hope of curing myself. Super Mario Land.
The Game Boy, Nintendo's second attempt at a handheld video game console, or negative first attempt if you're only counting ones that were actually good. Released back in 1989, the thing itself was basically an electric brick. You got two buttons, a D-pad, and screen slapped onto it for the iconic look of Overrated. Now, playing a video game is nothing that was completely new during this time. In fact, everybody was doing it. Anytime we as a species experienced despair, it was all done with tears in the eyes and a controller in the hands. But the main way of actually playing required you to be at home with a huge box you gotta set up to a TV, deal with AVI cords, God help those cursed with monochromacy, and once you actually manage to get everything set up, there's still a chance for it to do the exact opposite of what it was meant to do, which was work. But with the introduction and power of handheld gaming, now you can have everything not function in the palm of your own greasy hands.
Now I get to be disappointed on the go!
And here's the best part.
It's got f***ing games.
Yep, no video game console would be complete without these plastic multi-shaped products that are the only source of validation I receive anymore. Without them, f*** else are you gonna use this thing for? A coaster? Yeah right, you own a Nintendo console, you clearly don't have a sense of decency. Now, there are plenty of popular titles released for this thing that many have played and grown up with. God only knows why. Such as Pokemon, Tetris, DuckTales, but those are irrelevant right now.
Oh, my condition's getting worse.
Now, the reason I brought up the Game Boy in the first place was because there's this little title for the platform known as Super Mario Land.
Yeah, a Mario game on a Nintendo console. See, now we're getting into some wacky shit.
Whoever heard of broadening your horizons? Not me, apparently. So, a little bit of backstory here. This game was directed by a man known as Satoru Okada, who used to be the general manager of Nintendo Research and Engineering from 1969 all the way to 2012 before he retired. He was best known for his contribution to the creation of the Game Boy itself, helping out with most of the engineering stuff, as well as directing a few more games such as the original Metroid and Kid Icarus. Now that's all great and stuff, but it still doesn't explain what the f*** this is all about.
Is this criticism?
Now, something to note about the development of Super Mario Land is that it was the first game in the entire mainline Mario series that Shigeru Miyamoto did not help out with at all. And if for some reason you don't know who Miyamoto is, he essentially created Mario. An hour-long story fit into 4 words, hope you're caught up now. And because he wasn't on the project, even after playing such a big role in the creation of Mario 1, 2, 3, and World, it meant it was all up to the Nintendo Research and Development Department to downgrade Mario's entire premise and make it run on this. Good luck. Alright, enough with that boring discussion, now we get to move on to actually talking about the damn thing itself. But I really don't think it needs that in-depth of an explanation. I mean, it's Mario, you pop in any CD or cartridge and see that name in the title? Yeah, congratulations, you fall under no minorities. But I guess I should explain the similarities between Mario Land and the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES. See, you take control of this and need to traverse through multiple worlds, each containing a number of levels with their own unique obstacles to get through, as well as a final castle plus boss at the end. In each world, once completing a boss, you'll have some sort of psych-out bullshit cutscene making you think you actually saved the princess, when in reality, oh, just kidding, it's a toad, or oh, just kidding, it's a bug, or oh, just kidding, Lego Movie the video game for Wii U isn't actually that great.
I just couldn't keep lying to myself.
If none of that sounds familiar to you, then congrats, your life is pretty good. Or you're Amish. Now, even though I literally just stated this game is very similar to the original Super Mario Bros.,
I was kinda wrong.
See, while the format, genre, and end goal are identical, that's pretty much where the resemblance breaks off. Because the rest of this game, or at least the original stuff, is what takes this from part of the Mario collection to its own little dedicated spot here. It starts off fine at the title screen. There's Mario, there's Land, it's all going good so far. I already have everything that was advertised to me right at the start. Being a consumer is great. But then, let's say unfortunately, you find yourself feeling like an ungrateful piece of shit and decide to press the start button. Yeah, the sprite work isn't something I would call any form of quality, but I'll get back to that in a minute, God knows I will. Let's discuss the controls first. Right off the bat, you have the ability to move left and right, jump, crouch, run, all your standard platforming maneuvers. Stuff you should already know by now, but I insisted on mentioning anyways, it's the little moments for me. Although what's not standard about them, however, is the way they control. Hi, I'm Brandon. I put vague sentence structure in my transitions because I have no standards. Okay, so the movement in this game is all or nothing. When going from stop to walking, or walking to running, it's immediate. No gradual acceleration like in the original Super Mario Bros., or literally any other side-scrolling platformer. Just look at this comparison and tell me which one looks more painful to control. Well, actually they're both pretty bad, but the answer was this one. And the same thing goes for stopping as well. Similar to your birth and death, it just happens instantly, which has definitely thrown me off when trying to make precise jumps on multiple occasions. But the horizontal movement isn't the only problem I have here. No, this is a 2D platformer, which means we got an X and Y axis, bitch, and they both suck ass.
Hey, jumping, right? Love it when that works.
So the beginning of the leap itself is pretty fine, a little floaty, which can take some getting used to, but not too horrible. However, God help you once that part is over, cause when what this game considers gravity takes effect, much like walking, the descent is also immediate. In other words, you're gonna fall. Really fast. To put it in perspective, it's kinda similar to how in the original Donkey Kong arcade game, moving off a girder forces you to plummet straight into the ground and die. But like, there's an 8-year gap between these two titles, so I wonder if Brandon's going to be a little forgiving. Just very questionable momentum choices. I've taken boner pisses easier to control.
But when one bad thing ends, another begins. Let's talk about the graphics now.
I mean, it looks fine, really just mediocre at best in terms of sprite work. Nothing that can be classed under any synonym of good. Everything can still be kinda conveyed despite the simplicity, like for instance the first level taking place in the desert. You can tell because there's triangles in the background, my favorite natural landform. Really, the only time these condensed sprites become something of an issue is when you have to actually interact with them. Take the question mark block for example. Throughout every single 2D Mario game, the size of that block has always been the same as Mario's small form, leaving it to be just big enough to not miss. However, in this game, why? It's been doubled down in size, making it not only hard to hit, but also to see. Remember, we're playing on a Game Boy, the screen doesn't even make up a fourth of the damn thing. And this isn't even the only sprite in the game to have this issue. Look at the power-ups, the Goombas, the Koopas, who, by the way, explode when jumping on them. I guess kicking a shell was too difficult to program, they had to go with the next logical thing turtles are known for. Detonation. And speaking of which, the enemies. There's 25 of these things according to the internet. I don't know, I wasn't counting. Which is definitely a step up in the variety department from Super Mario's original 14, and only like 4 are actually rehashed from that game too. Goombas, Koopas, Bullet Bills, and Piranha Plants all reappear in Super Mario Land, but that's about it. And I will say it's quite impressive there's 25 enemies designed for this game, with 21 being original, even if most of them are just fish, birds, bugs, and rocks. You know, stuff I already see outside my house.
Oh, fuck, is that an enemy from Super Mario Land?
But when they're not weird and boring, they're just weird. I'm playing a Mario game right now, this is Mario. And hey, what classic Mario game would it be without power-ups? You have the usuals here, the mushroom that makes you grow, the star power that makes you invincible for a short while also playing this song instead of the normal theme. You know this kind of shit was discussed in a board meeting. And there's one more power-up here, called the Super Ball Flower, which gives Mario the perk of no physical distinction and the ability to throw Super Balls that bounce around in purely 90-degree angles and can take out almost all enemies. But as awful as the name Super Ball is...
Oh, sex.
It's actually very fitting because the whole concept itself matches the quality of that title. If I'm throwing a projectile at the enemy, it needs to run straight into them. You know, kinda like the Fire Flower. Just look at this. How the hell am I gonna do anything with that? I would have to be standing right in front of whatever wants me dead to actually land a blow, which, if you didn't know, kinda defeats the purpose of a projectile. Oh, what's that? It also collects coins? Yeah, that has never been useful to me once, or utilized at all throughout my entire playthrough. But whatever, moving on. So, like I said a while ago, you have to go through a number of worlds with the final boss at the end of each one. Very identical to this game I keep bringing up. Unfair comparisons are great, it's why no one respects me. But unlike that game and its 8 worlds, 32 levels, Super Mario Land only has 4 worlds and 12 levels. 3 levels per world, which, I mean, yes, is very short, however, you know. Going through the whole game myself lasted about 45 minutes, which at least is something. Although my lack of skill, or game design flaws as I like to call them, might have also contributed to a good chunk of that time. And as for the final boss in each world, they actually are different from one another. Absolutely incredible stuff here. We got a lion who acts exactly like Bowser, a seahorse and a rock that were very undemanding, and the final boss is a cloud. Psych, it's an alien. Psych, it's dead.
For those not following, these bosses are easy.
I was able to take them out in seconds, which, I mean, I'm not expecting anything too crazy, cause you know. But goddamn, give me something a bit more difficult. I had a harder time just trying to get the game to actually work. And the last feature I have here to mention about the levels is at the end of a standard one. Instead of traditionally finishing with a flagpole, we get doors. One at the bottom, which when going into will take you straight to the next level, and the other at the top that the game wants you to believe is harder to access by putting in some tricky platforming you need to get through.
But it's not.
I reached it no problem in every level, and look here, I even cheated this one, then went back and did it the way it was intended, just out of pity. But once you do enter the top entrance, you'll be sent to a bonus game where the mission is to stop Mario on this roulette thing, and wherever he lands, you'll get a specific prize ranging from 1 to 3 lives or a Super Ball flower. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, it does until you realize you fucked up a lot in the previous levels and are in desperate need of lives. Getting a single 1-up or flower when on the verge of a game over can and probably will break your run if you're just awful at this game.
And trust me, you are.
So that's why there's this ladder here to worsen your odds. Made with the sole intention of randomizing the roulette even more as it stops the same time Mario does, which has the ability to strip you of any prize you landed on, forcing you onto a different path and giving you literally anything other than what you wanted. Need that 3-up? Yeah, too bad. Here's that ball flower you already have equipped. Enjoy your life. So, after all that horrible shit I mentioned about the game, I finally did it. I defeated Tatanga, which is the name of the final boss, believe it or not, people care about that information, and saved Princess Daisy. Not Princess Peach, Princess Daisy. You can tell based on the tad bit more shit she gives about being rescued. The two hop to the ship, fly away, and boom, that's the end. This was the most intense exam of my life, and I fucking passed. Now, after playing an awful game on an awful console with awful controls, dealing with shitty game design, my stance on Super Mario Land?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Shocker, Brandon doesn't hate the Mario game. And I know I just spent the last specific amount of time spewing nothing but slander about this thing, but even with all those nitpicks and criticisms, I still had fun. Kinda sickening how someone can, in their own opinion, appreciate a video game that's fundamentally flawed. There's a reason our kind is hated. Jokes aside though, the point I'm trying to get across is just because something isn't defined as quality or meeting the incredibly high standards of video games nowadays, doesn't mean you still can't enjoy it. Like, it's 2021 and I'm playing New Super Mario Bros. U. What about it? Everyone has their own opinions on what is considered fun, and believe it or not, that has been the very thing to spawn all these great genres like platformers, RPGs, racing games, and yes, even, God forbid, first-person shooters. Everything comes to an end eventually. Yeah, video games are subjective, play whatever you want, stop bitching, your opinions are all valid. F***ing babies.
Well, alright, my mystery illness should be in check for a while after a small session of repeatedly slamming my head against a doorframe and screaming video game conjectures. So now that that's out of the way, I can finally start discussing about relatable and relevant video game topics again. Cars for the PlayStation 2 was incredibly underrated. I wasn't even close, was I?